Hi guys, and welcome back to another weekly watch list with me, Connor. Today I'm going to be taking you through a number of currency pairs I'm looking at for the following week. So starting off, we have the DXY, or the dollar index, and last week we actually predicted this pretty well. As you can see, price did come down to this trend line as we predicted, and now what we're looking for is either a break or bounce situation. So here we're going to look for a bounce up to this 99 key level, or we're going to look for a fall down to this 98 level before some correction, and then probably another impulse to our next low of 97. So following on from this, if we look on the weekly, we can see how impulsive this move has been to the downside. So as you can see here, off of this key sort of high, we've come down quite impulsively down to this new level, and as we can look on the lower time frames on the 4 hour, we can look at the correction that actually caused us to go into the Euro USD long position. So as you can see here, we had this series of correction. Price then had this third touch, broke out, retested, and then come down pretty impulsively on Friday evening, which those in the RF members group would have caught alongside me. And then if we look back onto our daily, we can see we are expecting some correction here, and then we're hopefully going to hover around this trend line until we can see a break. Moving on to the Australian dollar CAD. The analysis for this one is pretty similar to last week. Not really much has changed in my view. Still have this break. We're still waiting for price to sort of come higher. There's nothing really to really suggest getting into this trade yet. I'm just sort of waiting for price to sort of show its hand a little bit. We have seen sort of indecisive price action, and with this I'm still looking to sort of take this long since we have had this break. However, I would like to see a break of this liquidity area, maybe a new higher high, for us to go higher. However, what we can do is, using our Fibonacci tool, we can actually take it from the bottom here to the top, and we can actually look at entering off of a golden pocket region here. So if we move this, we can actually look for an entry around a golden pocket region, and then we can actually see, those of you who are in the RF community, you may have seen series 3 of a head trader strategy, and within this we talk about strategy 1. Strategy 1 says a break of the last significant high. So here we would have had this, we would have broke the previous highs, and now we'd look for that golden pocket rejection around here, or one of the other fibs, and we made it to go higher. So here you can see price is hovering around the 0.618 level, and it's refusing to go any lower than that. So what we could see is price either come down a little lower to the trend line as a retest, or we could see a break above. But like I said, I want to see sort of some really impulsive price action to the upside. This could be either bearish, bullish engulfing, or some sort of morning star formation possibly. And obviously we do have very high potential to the upside if we can find this. Moving on to Australian dollar yen. There's not too much for this one in terms of analysis. However, keeping it simple, we do have this trend line. I did have this short. However, we have sort of broken this trend line now, and now my bias has changed along. It's important not to maintain a bias and to be fluid with the markets, and keep an equal bias to either side, depending on what price is showing us. So as you can see here, we have had this sort of breakout, sort of come back in, and then we broke out again. And what we're looking for is price to come up to this previous high, and become a little bit higher. Then we want to see a correction down to our golden pocket level, one of our Fibonacci levels, and then we want to push this higher, up to sort of the minus 0.27 or minus 0.618 Fibonacci level, which could see a nice few hundred pips. Moving on to Australian dollar, US dollar. As you can see here, we're stuck within this range, and if we actually drop down to the 4 hour, what we can see here more recently is we have this sort of long-term trend line since July, so a couple of months now. We've come down, come through here, and then we've come down to our current price action, where we can see we've had a price and retest of the trend line. So what I'd be looking at here is possibly a long, which will go over Euro, US dollar, and our New Zealand dollar, for which I'm still holding. So what I'm expecting here is we could come down for a deeper correction already, or what we could do is form this double bottom formation where we come down, retest trend line, then come up to the next to make a new higher high. And this would be on this other trend line that we can see here. If we go back onto the daily, it'll be a little bit clearer. So as you can see, we've got this trend line here for the shorter term, and then we've got another trend line here. Then what we can see is a touch of this trend line, back onto the 4 hour. We can see a touch of this trend line, deep correction into our golden pocket region before going up to our minus 0.27 fib. Of course, this does depend on what the DXY chooses to do, and then obviously we can play off of this to our advantage. However, here we'd want to look for sort of our moving average to be a bit closer to price. Obviously now we have seen a massive impulsive move, so moving average is quite below price at the moment, so we can't use it too much as a guide. And of course we have only got a golden pocket region here, but for the long term move I'm expecting some sort of formation like this, so we could potentially get along in the next few days, and then we can expect some correction and then possibly an even longer term long. Now, moving on to CAD-JPY, and this is something I've sort of been trying to catch, but I haven't really been able to get it. So we have this liquidity area here, and this price action where we've sort of had a series of impulse and correction moves, impulse, correction, massive impulse, sort of just corrections or sideways, another impulsive move to the upside, and then some correction for an impulsive move down. And now we've sort of had an actual impulsive move. We have sort of tiny series of correction and another impulsive move up. So now what I'm looking for is we do have this Fibonacci that we can plot. It's not sort of the cleanest Fibonacci. I'd rather go from the high here. However, we can still have it valid as it is part of the move. So what we see here is a rejection of this liquidity area or this golden pocket region. We sort of had this rejection of liquidity area, and price is still in 0.786 Fibonacci. With this, what we can see is price fall from here down to our sort of minus 0.27 fib level. I quite like the short here, especially with this sort of long-term trend line above. However, if we do sort of break above this Fibonacci, this then will come invalid, and if we break above the liquidity area, we might be in for a short-term long, and then possibly short off of this trend line. But obviously it's important to sort of note this bit here. We've got the 83 key level as well as the trend line, so we could just see it hover here and then potentially get into a short later. Moving on to the Euro Australian dollar. This one I didn't really touch on last week. However, this because I was waiting, it's important to be patient. But what I'm seeing here is sort of this wedge formation. It's quite clean price action, and then what we're looking for is something like this. So we've got sort of our Fibonacci here. Fibonacci is placed at the last previous high, and then we have the last low. And then from here we can see we've got this sort of this counter trend line, one touch, two touch, sort of hovering on the third touch. We're also hovering on the moving average. So what I'm predicting here is that we're going to see sort of another touch of this counter trend line come up to the downwards or descending trend line, and then we sort of make a move downwards as so. Something like this, come down to sort of 0 or minus 0.27 fib, so something like that. But what obviously we'd prefer to see is something, so sort of come up a little bit higher, come back down to break the trend line, and then sort of a retest of a little bit higher, and then we can look to take a short opportunity. The euro is looking a bit quite weak at the moment, as we'll see with a couple of other pairs. Apart from the euro dollar, because the dollar is looking increasingly weak. But of course, what we could actually see is a breakout of this trend line, and then we could see a massive move to the upside. If we do get a move, a clean move and clean break of the trend line here, or this wedge formation. Of course, with a wedge formation, it could go either way, so we do have to be careful. However, we do have this downwards trend line, which has been slightly longer. Sometimes this can mean that it's more likely to go follow the trend from here. And obviously, if we do sort of catch a move higher, we could see a massive potential to the upside. but we do obviously have the supply zone here, as you can see, multiple wicks to the upside. So we are sort of quite, we are very high in price at the moment, and over sort of the last few years, this pair has sort of increasingly turned into an uptrend. So moving on to EURCHF, if we go back onto our daily, here we can see we've sort of had this break of the trend line as we predicted. Off of this bottom, so we had double bottom of the daily, break of the trend line, retest on the 4 hour, and then the monthly trend line. So we did sort of see price come up slightly higher for around 100 pips before sort of having this massive wick to the upside. We see quite a few wicks here, and then we sort of come down to the monthly trend line again. What we could be forming is sort of a inverted head and shoulders. So we've got the left shoulder here, head here, and then we might be forming the right shoulder here, and then we could see our move to the upside as predicted. Obviously here we have got multiple levels we can look for target levels. So what this can mean is, say if you have sort of a position that you can take 25, 55, 50% or 75%, you can take out multiple levels. So here you might look to move to break even, and take out 50% of your profits. Then we take out 25% the next, and then 25%, our last remaining 25% to take up to our take profit level, or our final take profit level. And then of course we won't have to miss out on a sort of longer term move, but we still keep it risk free and not have to worry about it. So I'm still quite happy with this sort of analysis, sort of similar to last week. It's just sort of looking for price to sort of give us that rejection, this monthly trend line, and push higher. Now moving on to euro dollar. Obviously this one I'm actually in myself. I'm in this trade, as so are my members. We sort of had this one while I was on the train. I sort of picked this one out, sort of perfect for our entry, and we did get quite a lovely impulsive move after this. So what we can see here, sort of had this long-term trend line, and then what I was sort of anticipating on Friday, and why I was really keen to watch this trade, was because I was looking for this breakout. Obviously you can see here we've sort of had this series of wicks to the downside. We sort of made this move lower to the minus 0.27 fib, and now we sort of broke this trend line. And now if we move down to the 1 hour, we can actually see where we entered. So we had this sort of breakout, then I was looking for the retest. We got the retest here. As you can see with this long wick, we actually got a nice wick entry on this, and then sort of price come down, was in a drawdown for a little bit, then it went up, made a massive move to the upside, and then we sort of had some correction, and then we're looking for sort of another move higher off of this minor support. So if we go back onto the 4 hour, we can see we have this weekly support here, and then slightly higher we have another series of support, which we might just be retesting here. So that's sort of what I'm looking for in euro dollar. Obviously I'm still in this trade, and I'll be looking to sort of hold this one long term. Obviously, like I said before, and like I said previously, the dollar index and the euro US dollar are negative correlated perfectly. So if the DXY goes up, the euro USD will go down, and if the euro USD goes so if the DXY goes up, the euro USD goes down, and if DXY goes down, the euro USD will go up. So obviously here we was looking for the DXY to go down, which we did see, and that's why we went euro dollar long. And now sort of we just watch as this 50 EMA. We ideally want the break of the daily 50 EMA, and then sort of a retest, and then we can really look to take this one long term long. But for now, I'm in this trade. I'm happy with it, and we can see where we're going to take it. Moving on to pound Australian dollar. I'm actually quite annoyed at myself for this one. I sort of planned this up perfectly, and I know a couple of my members caught it, but I didn't actually take it. So this was pound Australian dollar. I actually said to my members, although I got taken out for my stop loss, I think right at the start of the week, I actually wanted to take this one again. So what we actually got here was we had the break with the retest, and that's exactly what I said. We had the retest, like I said, liquidity area, and we actually could have got a perfect entry here off of this fib. So if we come down, gone through for a deeper correction than I anticipated, which sometimes would suggest that the Fibonacci is invalid. However, here we can just see we simply touched the 1 level, and then we sort of made this massive, I think it was like 400 pips, yeah, 480, 500 pips, moves to the upside within sort of an hour candle, or 2 hours candles, which obviously is crazy. And I know one of my members, Aaron, caught this perfectly. And obviously here you can see what I'm sort of anticipating now. So what I'm looking for is a sort of, as we made a new high, I'm sort of looking for this correction to our golden pocket, and then we could potentially look to take this higher. So still potentially another entry on the cards. We just have to watch and look for our different Fibonacci levels. We could see come down to the 0.382 or a deeper correction to our golden pocket. Moving on to New Zealand dollar CAD. Not too much to say about this one. I'm still sort of looking for this long, if we can, off this support. The support's held since 2013. Simply looking for it to come back into the channel and then possibly go long. Not really too much behind this one. Obviously, I'm looking for a weak Canadian dollar and a strong New Zealand dollar. So they're sort of, if you put them two together, you get New Zealand CAD in there for a long. So I'm possibly looking at that, but nothing's too clear at the moment. Moving on to New Zealand dollar, US dollar. Obviously, I'm still in this one long. Obviously, went through this one last week. So obviously, we've got this sort of long-term position. We've sort of got this triangle formation here. So this trend line here and this trend line here. What I'd like to see is sort of one more sort of touch down onto this bottom trend line before breaking through the above trend line, and then sort of carrying on our big move. So at this moment, this one's currently running with a very nice entry for around 200. So for 100 and about 10 pips. It's quite happy with this one still happy to keep it going. I've removed some of my profits, around 50 to 75% of my profits, risk free, just letting this one carry on. Hopefully we can get sort of a scaling, possibly off of this touch of the trend line here, and I'll be watching this one closely. So if you're not already in it, look for a scaling around the 0.63 key level, or just sort of a third touch of this counter trend line here. Sorry, not counter trend, just sort of this shorter term trend line. Okay, moving on to the US dollar CAD. Still got this long-term picture in my head. Sort of, we can see a series of correction impulse to correction impulse, and now you can see we've got this correction again. And what I'm looking for is another impulsive. So you can see we've got 1 wick, 2 wick, or 1 wick, 2 wick, 3 wick, 4 wick, fake out, 5 wick, and then all this price action here. Now we've got sort of these series of wicks and a massive impulsive move. So now what I want to see is a break below this 1.31304 minus support, break through the trend line, retest at the support level, and then a long-term move down, which you see over 1,000 pips. So I'm still really watching this one every week, and obviously as the weeks go on, we get closer to that sort of trend line and look for that key sort of area to watch. Next, got dollar Swiss. So dollar Swiss. I haven't really looked at last few weeks, but if we go down to our daily, we can see we're in this channel. So nothing sort of too much to concern ourselves with. We can see we've got sort of trend line here with a channel here. So these two trend lines form this channel, and then what we have is sort of just bouncing in between. So I've not really been too interested in it, but it's quite a popular pair, and it's quite good sort of reference. So here you can see we've got all these wicks to the upside, so we've put a Fibonacci on it, 0 at the lowest low and the top at the high, and then we sort of just see we might get this sort of golden pocket rejection before it moves downwards, and we have got this cycle level here. As you can see, price respects it very well. But not too much more to say about this, just sort of wait and see what price chooses to do. And then USDJPY, so if we go out, we can actually see there's an inverted head and shoulders. If we go back on the daily, so we have left shoulder here, sort of net. So we have left shoulder and head, or sort of double bottom, and then right shoulder, and then sort of I'm expecting price will make a break higher. We have got this trend line here that we've held since 2013, so if we've gone the weekly, we can see it's a bit clearer, and we can probably see the head and shoulders a bit clearly as well. So yeah, so left shoulder here, head, right shoulder, and then we can see a break above this liquidity area, which will be quite interesting, and see whether the price will sort of push higher. Of course, Euro USD long and USDJPY long don't necessarily correlate, but of course we can look at taking both if the positions are there. Euro USD obviously we'll look to get risk free as soon as possible, and sort of look to see whether USDJPY will go higher. Personally, I was in a short the other week for this, and we might just be seeing a triple top formation before coming down for another test of this trend line for about 120 pip move. But for me, I am looking at this for a long between this channel, and sort of just wait and see price show its hand. That's sort of all the analysis for this week, guys. I hope you enjoy it and I hope you find it helpful. If you do manage to catch any moves, make sure to send it to me via make sure to send it to me via my Instagram, or tag me in it on your story. I'd love to see your sort of entries. I'd love to see where you're looking to enter or your analysis to go with it, whether you agree or not. And make sure to send me your own analysis by all means, and I can have a look and compare it with you. If you've got any questions, please drop me a message on my Instagram at Connor_RF Trading, or comment down below. Thank you.